Hey guys, it's Brandon for Brandon's Baseball Cards. Today I'm going to be doing a deep dive into this 1981 Topps Rack Pack, and I'm going to be explaining why we can be confident that this pack is fraudulent. And for starters, just a good rule of thumb, right? If you're looking at unopened material and you're looking at purchasing it, you need to make sure that packs that look too good to be true, that they've actually been authenticated, right? So if there's a pack that looks amazing, right, that if it has multiples of the same player showing, or multiple key rookie cards showing, you want to make sure that it's been authenticated by Baseball Card Exchange and wrapped. That's just a good way to protect yourself from fraud, right? Because when you see raw packs on eBay and you're wondering, is this pack legitimate? You really have to make sure that you familiarize yourself with a little bit about collation and which cards can appear in which cells of a rack pack. Okay, and so if we look at this 1981 Topps rack pack, we see there's a lot of red flags here. For starters, there's two Steve Carltons on top. There's the 1980 record breaker, there's his base card, and then there's a 1981 Phillies team card on top, which essentially makes this a triple Carlton on top rack pack. Okay, so right away we should be very, very weary of this pack because the odds of this happening at the factory are so incredibly low that you should be skeptical. Again, especially because it hasn't been authenticated by Steve Harden in Baseball Card Exchange. But when we get down into a deep dive of this pack, we see that there are some very, very serious issues, and that the collation is off almost completely for every cell of this rack pack. Okay, so for starters, the cell furthest from the header, this 1980 record breaker card. Okay, this card should appear in a legitimate 81 rack in the cell closest to the header. Okay, and it's because the cell closest to the header in a legitimate 81 Topps rack has E and F sheet cards in it. Okay, this Carlton record breaker card. Remember, you can look at the sheet of card. The sheet of card is cut from on the back of the card next to the asterisk. This is an F sheet card. Okay, so it is in the correct cell in this 81 Topps rack. It should be in the cell closest to the header. In the rack in question, it's furthest from the header. Okay, so strike one. Let's take a look at this second cell, the middle cell that has the Steve Carlton base card on top. The middle cell should have C and D sheet cards in it. The Carlton base card, as you'll see here, is an A sheet card. And this means that the Carlton base card that is in the middle cell here in this fraudulent pack, in a legitimate pack, I'll show you one right now, it should be in the cell furthest from the header. Okay, furthest from the header. And so this is a problem. This is strike two. Okay. And so just a brief recap, the Carlton record breaker should be in the cell closest to the header. The Carlton base should be furthest from the header. The Phillies team card is actually in the correct cell because the Phillies team card is an F sheet card, as you'll see here at the bottom, F next to the asterisk. So this card's in the correct cell. These two are not. But again, you just have to use your best judgment. What are the odds that this came out of the factory like this? Not only with incorrect collation, but with two Steve Carlton cards on top, in addition to this Philadelphia Phillies team card. Okay, so strike one, strike two, and the overall likelihood that this rack is real is really the strike three, right? The factor that can lead us to eliminate this as a contender for being a legitimate unopened item. It gets even worse because when you look at the cards on the back, you'll see that all three cells have the wrong card showing. Okay, so to recap, right? E and F sheet card should be in the header cell. The card on back in the header cell is D sheet. It's Bert Blyleven. You see there at the bottom, D with an asterisk. So that's wrong. Middle cell, B sheet card. This should be C and D sheet cards in this cell. This is wrong. On the cell furthest from the header, this is a C sheet card. If you'll remember, the cards furthest from the header should be A and B sheet. So should be A and B here, it's C. Should be C and D here, it's B. And should be E and F here, and it's D. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. All of these are wrong. So 5 of the 6 cells have the wrong sheet of card showing. And that's not even looking at the cards inside the cell, but we can be very confident with 99.9% certainty that this is a illegitimate pack. And what's interesting is that the seller is appearing to hedge his bets here, because he notes that in addition to that he's not the original owner of this rack pack, he also points out that please note there are some who believe that Topps baseball cello racks of the early 1980s almost always have certain cards positioned in certain racks or certain rack sections, and that Steve Carlton regular issue all-star card is almost always positioned in the bottom, furthest from the header rack section. So he's acknowledging that the collation is off on this rack. And he's acknowledging that the Carlton that should be furthest from the header is in the middle section. But he's not going far enough here, because the collation for the other Carlton record breaker card is also wrong, right? So he's only telling part of the story here, but it's also he's really just trying to hedge his bets, because he ultimately says, I can't say one way or another that this pack left the Topps factory looking just like this, or if this pack has been modified or handmade. I would not bid on this pack. Don't touch this pack. It has a lot of interest already. It has 17 watchers, and it was just recently listed. This is going to get a lot of bids because people don't take time to educate themselves. Educate yourself. Stay away from this pack. Stay away from material that you're skeptical about. Protect yourself from fraud. That's what I have for you guys today. Hope this has been interesting and informative. Keep collecting vintage and open baseball. Don't get taken, everybody. Have a great weekend.